this kind of transformation is by now taking place most everywhere. At least in many of the developed countries where the economy is a little bit better and where people have been traveling and seen nice cities, or they come home and tell the mayor, we would like something like I saw in Firenze or in Venice, whatever. So the notion of what is city quality is being more well-known and more spread out. And all the cities I know are doing something, but many times uncoordinated, and many times it will be acupuncture, a little bit here and a little bit there. But what really is needed is a strategy over a string of years, like they have in Copenhagen. They have this strategy: we will be the best city in the world for people, but we will give ourselves 20 years to reach that goal, and then they put out where they shall be every 5 years from now. Sydney has another strategy: where will we be 2030? It's very important for cities that they don't operate on what can be gained in the 4 year I'm a mayor, but what would the longer term strategy be? Where would we like this city to be when our grandchildren turns 20 or something like that? I've tried in my books and also in my lectures to tell about the whole development over 50 years, where from a time when we knew nothing about what people would like in cities, how people use cities, until a situation where after many years of studies in many places, we start to know quite a bit. And now there is quite a bit of knowledge available. It's in books, in films, in television shows, whatever. And then this can be used by cities all over the place. And it is increasingly being used. If I look at the German cities, they were some of the first pioneers in Europe to make Fußgängerstraße, and there were made extensive projects in Nuremberg, in Munich, and in many other places. So really German cities were among the pioneers of all this. I think what is characteristic of the German cities are that the change in the character of life in the cities, which has happened in these 50 years, is maybe not so much picked up here. That is, that from conceiving the cities as a center for shopping, now increasingly the cities are a center for urban recreation. Actually, where we are sitting here in a restaurant along the bank of the Spree River, it's a very typical example of what people use cities for nowadays. If we ask people 25 years ago, why are you in the city? They would say, I'm in the city to shop. If we ask them in the last 20 or 15 years, they would say, the majority of them, they cannot understand the question. When we say, why are you in the city? I'm in the city because I want to be in the city. Why are you here? I'm here to see what's going on. I'm here to see some people. I'm here to see some of the culture going on, see how the people are dressed and what's going on. But don't you shop? Yeah, I shop from time to time. If there's something interesting, I buy, but not every time. I'm here mostly because of recreation. And that's a new way of using cities. That's more enjoying life rather than just rushing out of a transport medium and go and do your shopping and go back again. Maybe I feel that many of the German cities are a little bit too commercialized, and they've not really, all of them, picked up this change in how our people in the leisure time society would like a nice city to be. It has to be very good quality in the city, or people will find other things to do with their leisure time. But if the quality in the city is good, then people would love to spend time in the public spaces, walking, sitting around, enjoying. This is a pattern which we've seen very distinctly different from the old pattern. If we go to a development country, you can see many people being out in the streets, but they are there because they're forced to. They have to walk, they have to carry stuff, they have to work outside, they have to sell little things to survive. But in cities with this economy, as here in Germany, we see people spending much of their leisure time in the cities when the conditions are nice. If they're not nice, they won't come. I think we shall realize that all this leisure time society activity, all this urban recreation, that's an area with a great economy, and that the cities should really realize that having a nice city is part of having a good economy. Also, all the retailers and the shops and the restaurants, there is quite a bit of money in having a city of a nice quality. One of the things are the sort of the small scale things, but also the big scale is the kind of reputation the city has. Don't go there because that's an awful place, but go there because that's such a nice city. And that has quite a bit of economic value for the cities, which people with from mouth to mouth tell about. Go to Melbourne because it's become such a nice city, whatever. From my city of Copenhagen, they had the strategy never to tell about what they took away from somebody, but all the time to focus on what they gave to the community. This is a nice square. Here's 42 parking spaces, but there could be such a nice space, and you can see the Royal Castle from here, and there's sunshine and 42 cars. So instead of focusing on taking these cars away, they focus on let's make a fantastic square here. It's such a nice place. So the idea is really to say let's do something for the climate. They do that in Sydney. They say we will commit our city to be really a leading city in sustainability and health. And to do that, we'll invite people to walk and bicycle in this city. And to accomplish this, there will be some adjustment to old habits and to old patterns, because for 50 years we have been so used that everything has been done in cities to make the cars happy. And we know now that it gives problems for sustainability, it gives great problems for people's health, that they spend too much time sitting and too little time being active in their life in the city. We even know that people in cities live longer than people in suburbs, because people in cities walk more and people in suburbs sit more and drive more. So there are so many arguments to make a better city, and you have to look at the longer term and you have to look at the big picture rather than the individual parking lot. It is in Melbourne, they have made a plan for the next 20 years. The mayor put up this plan for the election and she got a roaring majority. Yeah, we need to be more sustainable. We would like a people-friendly city. And then there was a new election, she got even more votes. And now she will write on the posters in the city, you voted for a policy of being more climate conscious, and this is what we are carrying out now. I really think that something what they've done in Copenhagen is a very wise thing. They have this policy, we will be the best city for people in the world. And the other policy will also be the best city for bicycling in the world. And to do that, they've analyzed what is the situation now? What is not so good? What can be done to improve this for the people, for the public life and the pedestrians, and what can be done to improve the situation for the bicycle so that it becomes more inviting and more safe to bicycle. And then they set about addressing these issues. So it's something about, again, the bigger picture and have strategies for this thing. And personally, I have worked very hard in what I call making people visible in the city. Because every city I know have a transport department which every year counts all the cars and have fabulous statistics which they show the mayor and say, we need more lanes here, we need more this and that. They have everything organized to prove what they need to make the cars happy. But again, we have for many years had not a single city which had a department for pedestrians and public life. That is history now. Now we have many places where they have this, and also in these cities we always have good documentation of how the people use the city, how they used it last year, how they used it this year, what is planned for the coming years, where we plan to be 5 years from now. You need to have documentations, you need to have knowledge about how people use your city, and that's easy to get. And that's exactly working like the traffic engineers. And that's what we do in city after city, that we get the documentation and the figures, and then the politicians. We have from Copenhagen, we have a very nice quote from the mayor. When I retired as professor, we got this letter: if you in the School of Architecture had not over all these years given us all this documentation about how the city is used by people, we politicians would never have dared to make Copenhagen the most livable city in the world. They use this documentation as arguments in their political, in their policies. There are several excellent ideas out there which is going to be implemented, and several of them are already implemented. One of them is car sharing. That's obvious that instead of having all these cars around which are not used so intensively, we can have pools of cars which we can use collectively so that we can have our mobility needs served, but with much fewer cars. And probably that will also result in fewer kilometers driven, because you have to work a little bit harder to do it. That would be obvious. Another obvious thing would be to have cars which are less polluting and which are maybe electric and doesn't give so much noise and whatever. That's another obvious technology. I'm very doubtful about the automatic cars. I think that they will be wonderful for the car industry, but they will not improve the quality in the cities. They will most likely lead to many more vehicles in the cities, which will not spell better quality in the cities. So if we have more cars, we will likely have less quality. And I can already see, I've seen many places like in Sao Paulo, they said, oh, we look forward to the automatic cars because then we have no congestion anymore. We can have more cars on all the streets. And that, if that is the outcome, I think that we should forget about that technology, because that's made by the devil and not for the betterment of mankind. And again, there could be handicapped people who could benefit from that technology, whatever. But the idea, which I've heard about so many times, is that oh, lucky day, we can have many more cars. We can sell many new toys to people that they can now have an automatic car. We can sell 7 billion more gimmicks to 7 billion people, good for the automobile industry.